So what was your first paid comics work? Like, what was your first job in comics?
So I went to Pratt.
Mm-hmm.
My first choice in college was Rhode Island School of Design.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't have a merit-based scholarship. It was a financial-based scholarship. And so the difference in the scholarship money was a few $1,000s.
Yeah.
So I didn't want my mother to pay for college. So I said, okay, well, look, I'll go to Pratt. I'll go to Pratt for a year or two. If I like it there, then I'll stay. If I don't, the RISD people were like, you know, you can come back, you can transfer anytime you want. The RISD thing was fun, too. Here's an interesting story. To apply to RISD, you have to submit 3 drawings along with your portfolio.
Okay.
3 drawings. One was a shoe, one was a bike, and the third one was any drawing you wanted to do.
Wow.
So the first one was a bike. I just did a kind of a composition of different spokes to create a pattern. The shoe I drew was like it was pretty big, but it was imagine it's all black and there was a white circle, ovular circle here, with like 2 nubs and like a foot.
Okay.
So it was a drawing of a shoe, but it was drawing from inside of the shoe.
That's cool.
Looking out. And then the third drawing, I did a drawing of me, and I got the brochure to the school, and there's a picture of the president, so I drew a caricature of the president and myself standing at the front steps of Rhode Island School of Design, and him handing me a letter of acceptance.
That's awesome.
Looking back, I should have had instead of letter of acceptance, full scholarship.
Yeah.
Right. I was shooting too low. Should have shot higher. But the shoe drawing thing was unique, and what happened was the admissions people loved this so much they even showed the president of RISD the drawing that I did.
Wow.
And ironically, I don't know if it's irony, but a few years later, he became the president of Pratt. So when he got to Pratt, he was like, hey, you're that kid that did the drawing with me when he was at RISD, right?
I love it.
So it's a small world.
It really is a small world.
And part of like being an artist too, like I've always had the mantra of being unique and try to stand out and trying to do something completely different or walk a different path, especially from even other artists. So going back at Pratt, I was studying architecture and I was playing basketball on the basketball team. Nice. And that was the other reason going to Pratt, because they had an NCAA basketball team, Division III. So I said, if I didn't make the team, and I didn't like Pratt, then I would
go to RISD
the next year. Well, I made the team. I didn't play that much. We got to practice every day, but I didn't play that much in the games. But I hated architecture because everything had to be measured and ruled. And you had to build these models, and from 3 years of art high school, you're used to drawing and painting and just kind of being
creative.
Right, exactly. Just being loose.
Yeah.
No rulers. And your curriculum is set for the first 2 years, so you can't take any electives outside of whatever is already set for you. Because it's a tough regimen. They want to weed out the students that aren't really serious about architecture. Because it's 5 years for a bachelor's degree.
Wow.
Architecture. In most architecture schools, 5 years, some 6.
Wow.
So sometimes it's even harder than being a doctor, although I'm sure doctors will say, no way.
Yeah.
But architects will. So the first year I was like, man, I didn't get to draw. I wasn't ready to move to transfer. And then one day I went to a bodega across the street from campus, and they had a rack of comics. And I'm like, man, I used to read comics. I used to collect comics when I was young. Teenager, I had all these long boxes. And it wasn't until high school that I kind of stopped drawing comics or following comics. But then I picked up these books, and there was like a particular issue of X-Men drawn by Jim Lee. And I was like, wow, this is great. And I remember Jim Lee when I was a teenager, because I also had books shipped to me in the mail in the brown paper bags from Marvel. They had a mail subscription service. But I also had a pull list at a local comic book store. But the comic book store was kind of far away. Yeah. So there weren't a lot of comic book stores in Miami. So I would get my weekly 1 or 2 books from Marvel, and then I'd go once a month to the comic book store to pick up any kind of special stuff. And I remember one time getting an issue of Alpha Flight. I loved Alpha Flight back then. And Mignola had a few issues of Alpha Flight. And then also one day I opened up an issue with this guy Jim Lee. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, that's his first work is Alpha Flight.
And I haven't seen it since, but there was just something about the artwork that resonated with me, and that just that I was like, this is really good stuff, and it was different than everything else that was out there.
Yeah.
And I remembered his name, and then when I went to and he did a couple more, and then I think he might have did he move to Punisher after that or something?
I don't know.
Or, he ended up drawing another book that I wasn't collecting.
Mm-hmm.
And then pretty soon, I think after that, I started high school. So anyways, with this X-Men book, I was like flipping through it and like, wow, this is great. You know, style's like evolved, and then I thought, well, hey, I'm in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason to go into Pratt also was that it's in New York. Marvel and DC Comics are in New York. Why not try to get a side job drawing comics, maybe doing like 1 or 2 issues a year? It would kind of satisfy my urge to draw, the creative side, artsy creative side, not design sense. Make a few bucks, so I'm not starving college student. Even though I had full scholarship, there's no
Still
food.
gotta
You
eat.
still gotta eat, right? Yeah. So that's where it kind of sparked, like, why not give this a shot, right? I'm young, I'm in New York. Take advantage of the situation and the environment. So I asked around campus. I was asking everyone I knew, hey, do you know anybody that's interning at Marvel or DC or working there, right? And what do they have, like a tryout script or a story that I can draw from? So I knew I had to like do storytelling panels. So I met a guy named Mike Thomas, who was like an upperclassman, and I knocked on his dorm room. Some guy's like, yeah, he's in like 305 or something. So I knock on his dorm room. He's like, hey, Mike, my name's Bernard. I heard that you work at Marvel. Is there any way you can give me like a tryout plot or something I can start drawing? I'm really interested in drawing comics. And so I bugged him a couple times, and he got me a plot. It was a Captain America plot. Back then, like I think Marvel DC, they had particular stories that they had
For
specifically for people that were trying out. And I would do drawings and try layouts, and then do pencil drawings.